the keyboard to the boardroom. This is the business of esports. Do you want to own your esports fandom and support your favorite content creators and gamers? Artera Labs is a world-renowned NFT platform with a focus on esports and gaming markets. Their climate-neutral platform enables users to find, mint, trade, and purchase items from some of the top influencers and esports organizations. It's easy to use and even easier to sign up for. Don't miss out on the modern-day NFT gold rush. Just go to artera.co to learn more. That's ARTERRA.co.
From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports podcast. I am Paul Doalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, the Honorable Judge Jimmy Barada. For those of you who are new here, welcome to the official podcast of esports. What we do is we cover the most pressing gaming and esports topics and news of the week, but we look at all of it through a business and C-suite lens. We dissect, we analyze the business implications of everything happening in this industry. For our regular listeners, thank you guys for tuning in every week. Thank you for all the love, the 5-star ratings and reviews. If you haven't yet, go subscribe to the podcast. Go leave a 5-star rating. Go tell your colleagues, your friends, your family about the podcast. We really appreciate all the love. Jimmy, how you doing this week?
Hey, Paul. Hey, listeners. Welcome back, everybody. And more importantly, Paul, welcome back to New York City. It's been a minute. Business is back on track. We had like a 5-hour call last night, and it's crazy. It's like night and day with you.
I don't know. I've been back in New York now, Jimmy, for like 4 days, 3-4 days, and I'm ready to go back to Florida. I'm seeing my tan start to fade already. You know, it's just I think I've had enough here. The cold, I've had enough. I'm ready to go back.
They treated you too soft down there. I can see some mask lines on your face now from having to put that back on. So,
but yes, for our regular viewers, I know so many of you listen to the podcast, and that's okay. But for our regular viewers, you will notice that I am back in New York City, and many of you will start seeing more content from the studio in New York as a consequence. But yeah, it's good to be back, Jimmy, and it's I think we have to find a way to have an office down there at least, so I don't feel like I'm going on vacation for 3 months, which was not the case, of course. But speaking of cold, this is maybe not the best segue ever. I would call this a really special episode of the podcast. It's not usually that we have, we've got great guests, a lot of C-suite guests. I think this is a little bit out of the ordinary, and I'm just so excited to have this person on the podcast. And I just want to jump into it, Jimmy, because I think our audience is absolutely going to love this episode. And we have today none other than Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner, incredible hockey player, plays in the NHL for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's their alternate captain. He's been in the league for a while now. He's doing all kinds of cool things in esports. We are so lucky to have him on. Mitch, welcome to the Business of Esports podcast.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Mitch, for our audience who maybe who aren't diehard, like what most know, I'm Canadian, and are diehard hockey fans aren't diehard hockey fans like me. Maybe give our audience a bit of just your background, a little bit about you, your interest in gaming, why you decided to do anything in gaming, why you got into gaming.
Yeah.
But a little bit of the Mitch Marner story.
Grew up, born and raised in Toronto. Luckily enough, got pretty blessed with being able to play for a team I cheered for my whole life growing up, and started playing hockey when I was young, 4. Kind of just took off from there and decided to try and make a career out of it. My gaming love kind of came around, I'd say, the same kind of time, 6, 7. Just playing. I remember my brother always. My dad actually was lucky enough to get us a Nintendo 64, and Remember playing 007 on that, and just kind of all the fun games that came with. And just remember trying to stay up late nights, trying to sneak off into my brother's room and play video games when my parents were asleep. That usually they wanted me to sleep by, but kind of both loves came up at the same time. Of just, my mindset was always hockey, and I just found that gaming was a thing for me to kind of just get away from the game and focus on another thing, but also still keep that competitive edge of competing and trying to be the best of whether you're playing a kill death match or something like that. Just trying to be the best at that, and it's kind of just cool of having a competitive edge in both things and want to be the best at both.
Mitch, I'm going to start with some silly questions first, but I have to get them out of the way.
Yeah.
If you could do it all over again, right? If you could have either one, would you have picked the NHL career or a professional gaming career? Like if you could be on stage, like on the ice at Maple Leaf Gardens, whatever, or if you could be on stage Call of Duty League, if you could do it all over again, assuming money's the same, assuming everything is the same, what would you have picked? Out of curiosity.
That's hard. I mean, I trained a lot harder for obviously hockey, but I'm sure my parents would definitely want me to say hockey in this situation, just for how much time and sacrifice and money they spent to just keep me in this game and keep me to try and be where I am now today. And I think I would still say hockey. Hockey was my first real love. My parents got me on the ice when I was 1.5, just skating around with outdoor rinks, parent taught in Toronto. And just from that point on, I just kind of fell in love with the game. And like I was just kind of saying, video games for me is kind of just a passage out of just relaxing my mind and just kind of going to a different world for me. And it's also a great way of just staying in touch with a lot of my friends, especially these last couple of years. It's just been a lot of fun to kind of go on, play video games, just relax, interact with my buddies that we're able to see throughout those times.
You mentioned your parents. I'm curious, do you think there is a future where the same way your parents threw you on the ice at 1.5 years old, right? Maybe not knowing you were going to be a great NHL hockey player, but like threw you on the ice hoping maybe that you were going to be a great NHL hockey player. Do you think there's a future where parents are this encouraging, but like with gaming, do you think we're close to that? I'm curious what you see out there, because I'm sure you interact with a lot of your fans. A lot of your fans are kids, and through the stuff you're doing in gaming, which we're going to talk about, obviously. Do you think that future is close?
I do. I really do. I remember, I think it was kind of right when Fortnite started coming in and really getting hot. I remember our team was really high into it. We had a lot of guys playing in, just another way just to get away from hockey and just escape, but at the same time, be competitive and have fun with each other. And kind of remember, we did a lot of research and kind of seeing that schools and universities started bringing, the gaming stuff to universities, and you can get scholarships from being a pro Fortnite, Call of Duty, kind of either or video game. And just kind of remember reading about that and seeing that it's really starting to blow up. And I do think now it is more encouraging for parents to let kids play video games. And I think if you see it right now throughout Twitch, YouTube, just really anything of streaming wise of people playing, it's blowing up everywhere. And it's not just one game; it's a bunch of different games. It's new games coming out. It's really blowing up, and it's something for me. I watch TV shows when I'm at home with my fiance, but when I'm on the road, it's strictly Twitch, YouTube, gaming, stuff like that. Just watching, usually kind of the same old guys playing, but it's just, for me, that's kind of what I do. I watch a lot of Twitch or something like that, and just try and get away from it. And, it's crazy to see how much it's blown up, and the interaction between the fans and the streamers is pretty spectacular.
I'd love to follow this line of questioning just a bit, Paul, because I want to bring up, the Marner Assist Foundation, which obviously, Mitch, you founded and created to provide resources for youth. In that same light, where Paul's kind of asking what you're seeing with your fans and with young hockey fans in particular, and young fans of you, of course. I just wanted you to, I suppose, give room for you to speak towards the Marner Assist Foundation, the reasons and the passion behind founding it, as well as any intent to incorporate gaming and esports, or any interest from the kids that you directly kind of work with and meet through your foundation, and kind of how gaming, I think, is starting to facilitate those conversations or become part of those conversations. I saw it as a natural segue, and would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll answer the one. Yeah, the Marner Assist Foundation, we started up around 4 years ago or so. And for me, growing up, we always tried to look at NHL players that gave back and took their time with fans and the community, and just really gave their time to people that are less fortunate and that they can help. And for me, coming to Toronto, obviously the media coverage here is massive. You get a lot of people looking at your life and, kind of seeing what you're doing, and decided that it'd be a great idea to try and start my own foundation and give back, especially since I live here all year round, never leave. So thought it'd be a great idea to try and give back. And we decided to try and make a charity event that has now been running for 3 years. And it's a 2-day event of, we do one night of just the cocktail night of kind of auctioning off stuff. You get to meet all the professional athletes that are there, and second day is usually on the ice for about 3 or 4 hours, and you get to do a bunch of different skills with all the pros, and they're kind of teaching you how to do the skills and helping you out throughout it. And then at the end of it, you get to watch all the pros get on the ice and play a little scrimmage. But for us, we just want to make sure that we're trying to help out as best we can. And we're kind of started my days in London, Ontario, when I was playing for London Knights, of just the sick kids hospital visits. We did pretty much every week, and kind of just hit home there, and decided that that was really when I wanted to start trying to do something on my own and helping out and give back. And we do a lot of stuff with the youth, Canadian Tire helping out there. And this past Christmas, the past 2 or 3 Christmases, we've gone with Second Harvest and gotten meals out to families in need for Christmas, and just helping out. And to answer your next question, the hope is to bring video games into it eventually. And I think it'd be a really cool idea of trying to do a charity event with gaming involved. And we're kind of talking through it right now and see what we can do. And hopefully eventually it can turn to doing one of those one day, and kind of getting it to blow up. It'd be a lot of fun, I think, for me, all the fans, and all the people kind of part of it.
Mitch, I love the idea of bringing gaming into that, and I think it's such a great cause. But let's talk about Mitch Marner, the business or the brand, right? Because when you're an NHL superstar, there's more than just you, the hockey player. How is Mitch Marner, the brand and the business, thinking about gaming and esports? Like, what is your ambition in that space? When you're back on the podcast 5 years from now, what will we be talking about? Like, I'm curious how you want to grow in that space. Is it investing? Is it building? Is it like, what is the ambition in the space from a business perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hopefully to be a part of rather a team, or I guess one of the big names of gaming, of rather, FaZe, Complexity, Optic, any one of those. Been watching FaZe since I was, probably around 12, 13, and just kind of seeing them blow up through everything that's been going on. It's been crazy, just seeing all the guys they brought in, athletes-wise as well, and just kind of makes you kind of think, hopefully maybe one day that can, be a part of it. And like I've been saying, my love for video games is there. And for me, hopefully being, if not with a team, then investing into a team and trying to help out a team, make it somewhere in the esports, and kind of take it from there. But hopefully be a part of a team and somehow being with a group.
Why do you think there's such an attraction to teams from traditional athletes, right? Like, there's always this conversation of how similar is traditional sports to esports, especially when it comes to like an esports team or just a team perspective. And let me just give you a little bit of context here, right? One of the criticisms I think we always have of esports is it can be very different from traditional sports, right? Like, I can't tomorrow go start an NHL hockey team. Like, maybe I could. I would need phenomenally large amounts of money. I would need to convince the NHL to give me, an expansion team. It would take years and years, right? It's hard because the NHL is a little bit of a gatekeeper, right? With esports, other than the hardcore franchise leagues like League of Legends, Overwatch League, and Call of Duty League, it's pretty open, right? Like anyone can sort of go start their own esports team. I'm curious, what do you see as sort of the attraction to being a part of an esports team other than the love of gaming? Like, do you just see a lot of similarities? Do you see expertise that you can bring from the traditional sports space?
I think it's similar in ways of just a competitive mindset of just, I think the cool thing about it is, rather if you're doing, I'll just do the Call of Duty League as an example. One of my good buddies is Methods, who's now on the Boston team. And throughout the last year, he was actually, me and him hung out quite a bit of just talking about esports and stuff like that and just his mindset. And, it is crazy how the similar mindsets are like of just, you kind of flip a switch, you go into that mindset of just, I'm going to call it locked in of just, you're there in that moment, you're ready to go, you're ready to do anything. But, another funny thing was Zach Hyman, who was on our team, he started up E11 Gaming, and he brought kind of guys to Fortnite. I think he had a couple guys in other games as well, but I remember he was talking about that and trying to talk me in of coming in with them, and never ended up doing it. But I think for us hockey players or athletes, we do see the video game as a competitive world as well. And, it's cool to see those guys just lock in and get into that mindset of, ready to go, ready to do anything. Even if it's just watching Twitch of guys playing a tournament for $25,000, it's crazy just to see their mindset flip. They're completely just locked in, working as a team. It's pretty cool to see.
So what are those games? Because part of Paul's question and prompt there, right, with the comparison and starting an NHL team, also with esports, the games change so often, right? When there's a new release or a sequel or an expansion, what have you, what games, and you've brought up Fortnite a few times. I know Paul's brought up Call of Duty as well. What games, obviously you brought up also 007, which I think we all, can reminisce and love.
I don't know if we're going to see an esports scene there. That ship may have sailed, guys.
Yeah. But certainly a love, or at least a lot of discussion here today around first-person shooters, except with Fortnite, which is kind of, it's in its own category. I'm curious what games interest and excite you. And again, like Paul said, 5 years from now, when you're signed to, I would substitute phase with XSET personally because my own interest there. But when you're signed to a pro team 5 years from now, a pro esports team, that is, what games do you think you'll be playing, or do you hope to be playing that's either still around or maybe that next release that that recaptures a lost audience? We see a lot of audience leaving Call of Duty right now, for example. Yeah. So I'm curious where your interests are in the specific games you play, and kind of that tinfoil hat. What's the future of FPS?
Yeah, I'm kind of jump over the map with games, to be honest. Halo has always been a big one of mine. Big fan of Halo. And then obviously Call of Duty, that's another one that I just played my whole life. And then it's really been back and forth between those two. I had a couple of years where Gears of War was kind of my go-to game there with my brother. I remember we'd always play together, and that was a lot of fun. And but it's always really been Call of Duty for me. It's kind of just a game that I've always played. It's always the game that I've had the most fun playing, of just also feeling that I'm the best at as well.
That helps.
Yeah, definitely nowadays. You see kind of the Halo, you see how competitive that is. Again, it's crazy to see, and I definitely wouldn't be able to last too long in that atmosphere, I don't think. I think Call of Duty, I wouldn't be able to last too long, but I think I'd maybe have a little bit better of a shot of being decent at it. Gave Apex a good try there for a little bit, and that was a lot of fun as well. But again, kind of just the flip of the mindset of the competitive edge of that one now, and how you really got to think. You got to play late game. You got to kind of just strategize everything. It's a lot of thinking for me. Usually I like to Call of Duty, I like to go kind of rover and go run and gun and take myself into one-on-one fights that I believe I can win. And Apex, obviously, it's a lot more thinking involved in that. And me and my buddies, when we're playing video games, we're not thinking too much sometimes. We're just thinking about going out there and trying to get our KD up and have fun with it.
It's funny coming from a guy who plays a team game in traditional sports, right? Like, it's not like you're a golfer or a tennis player. Like, you're used to needing to think and seeing, what's going on. I mean, Mitch, I want to just dig a little bit into sort of the secret sauce that a guy like you could bring to esports, right? And you mentioned competitive edge. Do you think that's something that can be taught? Like, there are some esports teams that are very focused on winning, and I would categorize them like that. Like, I would put sort of TSM in that bucket. FaZe, I would put on a different sort of end of the spectrum, right? More media content focused, and they're the best there, right? Like, in terms of the content they put out. First question is sort of, where does your interest lie? You mentioned competitive edge, right? So is it more like going and building an esports team or joining an esports team that is focused on winning, and you can bring sort of this, I don't know if it can even be taught. I'm curious if you think sort of that competitive mindset can be taught to help win more. But where on this spectrum of sort of hoodie org / content creation on one end and sort of focus on winning on the other end, where are you most excited, I guess?
That's a good one. I'd like to try and find a happy medium of both if I can, obviously. The content stuff is cool. Obviously, I got to be able to stream about a year and a half ago. I was streaming actually quite a bit downstairs, and it was a lot of fun. Just, kind of feeling like you're kind of a content creator or something like that. Just having fun with your viewers, enjoying it. For my viewers, there's definitely something different that they haven't seen out of me, because usually when you see me, I'm in full hockey gear with a helmet on, and sometimes not saying the best of words if the camera catches it right. But it was a really cool thing for me. It's just streaming, being able to interact with my fans in a different way, and just kind of having fun with it. And the other side of it, obviously, if I'm with the team or something like that, and we're in esports, and hopefully we're doing the best we can of winning and being competitive every single year. And I think the competitive mindset, it can be brought to you a little bit, but at the same time, I think it's just kind of your own will. It's your own passion. It's, the amount of hours and dedication you put in daily of just trying to be better. And I think that just comes from your inner self and your inner mind, and just pushing yourself to try and be the best you can. And then when the stage comes, you're ready to go.
You're streaming, Mitch. Do you find, like you mentioned that you did some streaming last year, do you find it helped you reach an entirely new audience? Or do you feel like it's just because you've got millions of fans, right? Like being a star on the Maple Leafs, like you said, right? This is a hockey market. Everyone knows you in Toronto. Everyone knows you in Canada. I'm curious if you feel like streaming gaming opens you up to a new audience, or is it your existing fans that come and watch you there? Like, where do you see the growth happening for you?
Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit of both. I think definitely more new fans that, kind of just interacted with it and kind of just saw it with like, I think it's always cool when I go on Twitch and I see athletes playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, whatever it is. I think it's always cool. And a guy that actually I see a lot playing with big streamers is MVS. I don't know how to really say his last name, but Mark Valdez-Scantling, I think is that how you say it? The Green Bay Packers wide receiver.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Of just, he streams himself as well, and I think that's cool. It brings in definitely a different, completely atmosphere and a different fan environment. And again, it's a different way to see who you are as a person, and just kind of a different mindset of yourself. And I remember it was cool. I had his name's Cody. His Twitch name is Exposed. He's a big Leaf fan as well. He actually hosted me the one day, and he had like 2,000 people watching him, and hosted me and brought in like, I was doing actually decent of like 500 viewers. It was pretty cool. A bunch of new kind of people, new fans. But at this point, I'm already about 2 weeks into streaming, and I kind of knew a lot of people in my chat, and it was actually cool because I could interact with them, and I know kind of about them and stuff like that. And then when he did that, I brought in a whole kind of new fan base and new people, and new people to talk to and kind of just get to know people. And it is kind of cool when you can talk to them and you see their chat and you can see them replying back and kind of asking questions and stuff like that. But it was cool. It definitely was eye opening, and so it definitely brought in some new people and new fans, and I think that was a cool thing about it.
I'm wondering if I always like to ask the question of who benefits more, right? Like, did you get more followers as a hockey player, or did you get more followers as a gamer, right? Were gamers discovering Mitch Marner, the hockey player, or were hockey fans discovering Mitch Marner, the gamer?
Yeah.
Or does it really matter, right? Maybe it doesn't matter to you.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but It's a great point. I mean, maybe a little bit of both. I think I have expressed my passion for gaming and media the past couple of years, but when I do media, it's usually not about playing video games. It's usually about the on ice, the off ice, all that stuff. And sometimes it gets carried away with. I think a lot of people think of sometimes still have maybe that mindset of gaming is kind of I don't know. I don't know how to say it in the right words, but just kind of like some people I think still think of gaming as a waste of time, and that's just people that don't really know the new age of gaming, the new kind of world we're in of how this thing's blowing up. And I think my love for gaming is there, and I think it's a little bit of both of bringing people in that didn't know I was a gamer, and also at the same time people can come to me as a gamer, and then they're like, "Oh, this guy's a hockey player as well." Like it's a little bit of both, and that was a cool thing about it. You had both kind of interactions of fans that know I'm a hockey player and fans that just think of me as a gamer, kind of interacting in my chat of just talking about it and just kind of going over it. And it was kind of cool to see that.
I love the point about people, I suppose, that aren't really educated in the space, not understanding the utility or the value of what's going on in this industry and what we're doing here. And also, of course, about just streaming and being an authentic person on camera, because you're interacting with all these people, and that's something that doesn't come across in traditional sports all the time, because it's more physical and less about the environment in the chat. I wanted to speak on the kind of those themes, but applying it towards your work with sponsors. You're wearing a Red Bull hat in particular, and I'm told and would love to hear more about your relationship with them and how you hope to, or if there's anything you want to share there with Red Bull and anything that you're doing in esports. Also, I was told that you may or may not be supportive of or sitting on a Herman Miller gaming chair, which we're big fans of around here. So Paul is in one at the moment.
I'm sitting in one, and I have another one here. Yeah. I've got two in the room.
Yeah. So would love, sponsors are one of those, right? Where we're it took a while to educate them on the space, and obviously Red Bull and Herman Miller are early adapters or early adopters, I suppose. But I'm just curious, the support that you've seen, as a traditional athlete, that obviously works with a lot of sponsors, as well as kind of what you're seeing from them in the gaming world. Any comparisons, positive insight that you could share?
Yeah, well, the Herman Miller, those things are unreal. I didn't really have like a great gaming chair, and so I remember I reached out to my team and said, "Hey, because at this point now we're really trying to get into the gaming industry and trying to put our footprint in, I guess you can call it." And I remember I was kind of asking around about I need a new chair for my gaming setup, and I remember I got the Herman Miller, and I was like, "Oh, this thing is life changing on like just the whole body. This thing's," and it was hilarious because I remember I got in. I had some friends over, and those are the guys I usually play video games with. And I remember for Christmas we were in a pickle for getting them something, and we're like, "Oh, perfect. We know what we're getting them now." Like, so we got them both Herman Miller chairs. They're both sitting comfy on them now, and they're in their space and loving it. And it's a hell of a chair. It's real nice to sit in, especially for video games. And with Red Bull, they were the ones that kind of helped me out get my whole setup downstairs really, and lock it in and just kind of get everything going for me. And it is great to see them really be a part of the gaming industry now and kind of just want to help out, want to be a part of it. And I think they're seeing that gaming is really taking off and blowing up, and that if they're a part of it, that they're going to get a lot of new fans with it. And I think also, a lot of people are seeing more about Red Bull and seeing that I think it's got still a little bit bad rep of the drink itself. And I think people, when they start doing the research a little more, same kind of thing, it's actually not that bad for you, and it has a lot of benefits to it.
The Herman Miller story is so funny because we covered on the podcast, I don't know if you remember, but LeBron actually was looking for a gaming chair, and he put out on his Twitter like, "Hey, which one should I buy?" Yeah. And I remember we replied to him like, "Hey, you should buy," even though we're not sponsored by Herman Miller, I'm just a huge fan of the product. But for a long time, this was like office and living room furniture, right? Yeah. In some ways, Logitech sort of made the Logitech Herman Miller collab made it very cool. We did an episode with the head of Logitech Gaming, and it's an amazing story sort of behind the Herman Miller Logitech gaming chair. But it is I was going to say, Mitch, you should have just put it out to your Twitter following like LeBron did, right? You didn't even need to go to your team. You could have had the advice of your, of your millions of fans.
Tweeted out and asked them what I got to go with, but I got very lucky with it, and it's like you were just saying, it's a spectacular chair. It's great to sit in, especially if you got to go like some of those guys in those long hours. They do streaming, and you got to have a comfy chair, or else you're gonna tear your back and your butt apart, man. You're in an uncomfy chair. It's not. I can't see it being pleasant for sitting there for 7-8 hours streaming.
Mitch, can we talk about retirement as a hockey player in the context of gaming? Like hockey, I think most people would agree, really tough sport on the body, right? Your careers are not like no one's playing hockey into their 50s. Yeah. And so, the careers are relatively short from an athlete or sports perspective. And I think the path traditionally, especially if you were a successful hockey player, is you go do broadcasting of some sort, right? Like you're on TSN or ESPN or whatever, you're a commentator. And that was sort of the retirement path for a lot of hockey players. Do you think gaming provides sort of an interesting other option now to sort of, in terms of what life after hockey looks like? And are you thinking of it in that way, or is that not a consideration for you? Like, is gaming sort of the retirement plan for Mitch Marner, the hockey player?
Yeah. Hopefully I got at least 10 more years left in me.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean like.
Oh, no. I'm hoping I got that, but no, definitely. That's it'd definitely be a cool way to do that, and retire and kind of take my stuff new places, and that'd be streaming for sure. I think it'd be a cool thing to do. Keep your fans around and be able to still be able to talk to them and interact with them. And I actually forgot to mention, but another really cool thing we did with my stream when I was streaming. It's been about 2 years since I have now, and it's kind of starting to miss it a little bit, to be honest, just because watching it all the time and just seeing the interaction, it is really cool. And we set it up as when people donated it or anything like that, it went to our foundation as well, the Marner Assist Foundation. So it was cool. I remember, we would have nights of where if we got to a certain goal of donation wise, then we would do a challenge of something of something cool. And fans love the one. I had my one buddy that he said if we get to a certain donation, he'll shotgun a beer on camera, and all the people on stream were just going nuts for it. They loved it. They're like, "Yes, this is the best thing ever! Like, we need to hit this donation like right now." And so we're in a game. Within like 3 minutes, we hit that donation, and I'm like on the mic. I'm like, his name was Ryan. I'm like, Ryan, we hit the donation mark. Like, you gotta have to shotgun a beer. He's like, all right, perfect. I'm like, you just set yourself up for wanting to shotgun a beer. Like, what do you? I'm like, this is just your own setup. And so it was hilarious. I FaceTimed him. I showed the stream. Everyone went nuts, and it's just a cool thing. Like, that's just the cool thing about it is just that interaction. And definitely after the game, if it's we'll see what game it is. Hopefully, I'm not too bad at it. Hopefully I'm still pretty good at the video games. We'll see. Maybe I'll have some toddlers running around or something like that, and it might be a little harder to stay as locked in as I am. But it would definitely be cool to try and continue that on.
Good news is you don't need any of your teeth, Mitch, to play video games. It's not a requirement. No, but I definitely see like the streaming tie-in with something like the Marner Assist Foundation, right, where you can use your streams as this sort of tremendous fundraising vehicle beyond events, beyond putting on parties, whatever events, fundraising events. Like I've so many streamers use their streams successfully as sort of ways to raise charity and charitable dollars. I see that as a really sort of lucrative path for a charitable foundation, right? Leveraging your celebrity and your following to do good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to ask one last question on the esports teams here before I hand it over to Jimmy. But one of the criticisms we have repeated or like relatively regularly on the podcast is some of the esports leagues feel a little clinical, right? My early criticisms, for example, of Overwatch League was there wasn't a lot of entertainment or interaction between the players. I think one of the things traditional sports, what we jokingly on the podcast here call meat sports, like what meat sports does really well is the kind of rivalry and entertainment value that comes from rivalry, right? Like everyone knows if you're a Leafs fan, you hate the Canadians. If you're a Canadians fan, you hate the Leafs, right? It comes with the territory, and esports feels like it lacks a little bit of that entertainment value, right? Like you don't have a whole lot of trash talking in most esports. You don't have, the post match interview where the guy's calling out his opponent, or right. You don't have the chirping on the ice like you do in hockey, right? You just don't have a lot of that. And I'm curious how you feel about esports adopting more of that, and where there's a line with sort of toxicity, where it becomes too much, and how much can be borrowed from like traditional sports in your mind.
Yeah. I don't know would be too much. I mean, there's crazy stuff going on every game, pretty much, of just going back and forth at each other and chirping each other, stuff like that. But I think I started to really notice. I was watching the Call of Duty League last year for the last tournament, the finals especially, and I can't remember the name now. He won the MVP of the tournament, was on FaZe. I remember I was watching with Methods here, and he was talking about it, and I was kind of asking him the same question of, is there chirping? Is there going back and forth? Like, how do you, like, after you do something to a guy, like, is there a way that you can be like undercover? We call it chirping, of like making fun, like, I don't know, like doing that pisses him off. And he was like, yeah, like when you kill someone, if you shoot their body after you kill them, like that pisses a lot of people off. I remember we were watching, and it was like, it was I think the semifinals, and I remember someone kind of got juked on, and I remember the guy killed him and then started shooting his body. I remember Methods right away. He's like, "Oh, that's gonna piss that guy off because I know him." And I remember like you kind of could see it, like the semifinal was kind of getting more heated as it went on, and the chirping. And the thing I actually liked a lot was after the games are over, the winning team constantly stands up and just yells as loud as they can, and it's like yelling at the other team, yelling at the crowd. It's like a little bit of both. Like if I was sitting the other team, I'd be so pissed off about that. Like it would rattle me. So like I think it's getting more and more competitive as it goes. I think it's hard sometimes because for us playing NHL hockey or anything like that, it's a brotherhood, but at the same time it's not. When you step on the ice, you're battling against you do skate with some guys in the summertime that you play against, and kind of that mutual respect and stuff like that. But there's other times you just constantly play against the same guy over and over, and you don't know anything about him, and it annoys you, and you annoy him or something like that. And it's just back and forth. I think for video game wise, you're playing with a lot of guys in the summertime of like streaming wise, of like joking around with them, having a lot of fun, and then you go into that competitive mindset of now you play against them in a tournament. I think it's that kind of like medium of you don't want to piss them off too much that like then like you have like hatred for each other or something like that. I think that's kind of like the difference of what I've seen. And but I think it's going to get more and more heated as it goes. And I think for those guys, I think it's starting to hit of like it's kind of kill mindset of I'm going to try and do whatever I can to get under your skin and throw you off your game. And after the game's over, I'll be your buddy again. And that's kind of how it is in the NHL as well.
But do you think esports will catch up to traditional sports in that sense? Like, is it just a question of time and maybe prize money? Like, as the stakes get higher, the dollars get bigger, players are getting paid more in esports. Like, is that part of the equation, you think? Or is just esports maybe more polite by its nature because it's not physical, it's not... I'm always trying to figure out how we can bring more entertainment value to esports and borrow from traditional sports in that sense.
I think it will get there one day for sure. I think there's just going to be ways that it's going to be toxic to do stuff to other teams, regardless of search and destroy. Maybe there's one guy left, there's your whole team left trying to do something insane to him that's not usually seeing like a crazy play of doing something to a guy, of trying to maybe assassinate him or, doing something crazy, of flashing him a couple times, stunning him, dropping the guns, and just beating the hell out of him, Like, if I was playing on the other team as a pro, I couldn't imagine how mad I'd be if that happened to me. But at the same time, there is that aspect of these guys are pros. They can kill you, and they are elite at what they do. So you can't be too crazy with what you do. I think slowly it will start becoming more chirpy. We'll start getting more heated, and I think you'll start seeing some more toxic stuff going on in games. And that's just, I think, for their mindset of trying to throw guys off their games and trying to kind of take it to a different level.
Mitch, the sort of the second part of this question is the other piece that esports has borrowed from traditional sports on is team-based leagues, right? Like Activision Blizzard with Overwatch League and Call of Duty League really pioneered this, where franchises were based around a city, right? So Boston has their Call of Duty League franchise, they have their Overwatch League franchise, and it's really about creating sort of nexus in Boston. This obviously works extremely well in traditional sports, right? Just being born in Toronto, for the most part, you're automatically a Maple Leafs fan. And there's sort of real love for your city, it's a human nature thing, human psychology thing. Do you think esports needs this? Like one of the teams you mentioned that you look up to is like a FaZe, right? Which has built a brand that's not dependent on any city, right? It's not it's not tied to any city. Where do you feel is the future of teams? Is it city based? Is it just big brands like FaZe or Cloud9? Like, where do you think we're going to end up on that?
I think it could be both. I think it definitely is cool if it can be city based. I think there are a lot of cities that love playing video games, at the same time love just the competitive aspect of watching something new and seeing a different mindset of competitiveness. And I think it is cool when it is city based. Especially for guys that really do love playing video games. I think if it is city based, you're going to have more fans from that city, obviously, but at the same time, more people watching, more people interacting with it, more people telling their friends, family, stuff like that. Because I think you see it. There's a lot of people that really do love playing video games, love watching video games. I know we have a lot of guys on our team that watch a lot of video games, play it. I'm just kind of enjoying. I think it can be both, for sure. But I think when you do have a city, you can try and bring more people into watching and becoming fans and supporting that because it's in your city and you want it to be successful.
Mitch, this brings us to I think everyone's favorite new segment, and that's the Honorable Judge Jimmy Barada's rapid fire questions here, which we call Judge Jimmy's cross-examination. Judge Jimmy, take it away.
Thanks, Paul. All right, we're going to wrap this up with some quick questions here for you, Mitch. First one, what is your favorite TV show to stream or to watch? Could also be a movie, actually, because I want to broaden it to something that kind of shares video game IP that was adapted, from a video game kind of lore or story.
Right now, my favorite one's actually, I'd probably go Yellowstone, just because it kind of has that Red Dead Redemption feel to it, to be honest.
Nice.
Cowboys and just going around. If someone's messing around with your property, you just
take care of it.
You do your thing. So it's kind of got that Red Dead Redemption feeling for me, just watching and kind of just seeing how these cowboys are, and just kind of the interaction with all the other people coming in, and then you got the big money guys trying to come in and trying to get in their space, and it's just kind of got that feel of that.
I love it. That's actually the third recommendation I got this week to watch Yellowstone, so I need to stop sleeping on it.
Yeah, it's addicting. I was sleeping on it too, but now we're pretty heavily into it.
Nice. What is your go-to gamer snack or drink when you're playing?
It depends how tired I am. Drink-wise, it's Red Bull. I got the whole fridge and setup downstairs, so I got it right behind me. Nice and easy to grab, open up. Usually have one of those, and then snack wise, it's kind of hard. It's a little bit of try to not go finger foods, to be honest. But at the same time, I'm usually not the one making it. So whatever my fiance is going to make me, I'm down to eat. So it's kind of, I guess, whatever beggars can't be choosers. I'm down to eat whatever that brought to me in front of me and play video games.
Does that extend? My next question was going to be broader in terms of your favorite cuisine or general, food choice. Does that extend to that as well, where it's kind of what she brings you, or like if you guys are going to go out or it's your birthday, what kind of food are you looking at?
Yeah, usually we're Italian steak. I mean, either or I can't go wrong with. But I don't know. I probably go Italian. I eat pasta almost every day, really. And just obviously with playing hockey. That's my pregame meal every single day. We play a hockey game is pasta and rosé sauce. So you can never go wrong with that. I never get sick of it. So I'd go with Italian.
Asking elite athletes what they eat always very depressing.
What did you want to hear, Paul? Donuts.
I want to hear that it's painful, right? He's eating broccoli every single day, right? Like, not that he's eating pasta and rosé sauce every single day. It's just depressing.
Yeah, we get spoiled.
Let me keep going. So you mentioned 007. You mentioned a lot of Call of Duty. All time, what's your favorite game?
I'd probably go Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Nice.
That one was just my favorite. Just all the maps, everything about it. Just
peak Call of Duty.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. So that was my favorite one to be a part of. It was so much fun to play, and I was probably the best at that one too. I think that was when I was really young, and I was heavily just addicted into gaming. Just play every day. Every time I got home from school, right into my room, right into video games, and then right to practice, right home, try and sneak a couple more games in if I could, but. My parents sometimes try to shut that down.
all of ours, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Last one, we'll wrap up here. Who is your favorite Ninja Turtle? This was a big debate we had last week. So Paul, that's why Paul's laughing.
Oh, that's a good one. Dang.
This is the toughest interview question ever because
I'm actually terrible with their names though.
Donatello, purple one. Yeah.
Sorry,
that's Paul's. Damn it.
yeah. Oh man, those movies back in the day and TV shows, those were heavily on the Marner household TV, and those are some great shows to watch.
Nice. Well, that was a lot of fun. I'm going back to you, Paul. Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah.
Mitch, just wrapping up here, how can people, like a lot of our listeners are obviously people who work in the industry, a lot of brands, a lot of business people, obviously. How can people find out more about what you're doing in the gaming and esports space, for example, or maybe about the Marner Assist Foundation? Like, where can people go to find out more?
Yeah, well, Twitter and Instagram are the Marner Assist Foundation. So they're on both Twitter and Instagram. That's kind of how you stay up to date on my charity events, charity work. Kind of all the new stuff going out and trying to raise money for stuff. And then I'm usually trying to shout out my Assist Foundation a couple times a month. So that's on Marner_93, I believe, on Instagram, and I think it's Marner93 on Twitter. I could be wrong. I don't look at Twitter a whole lot anymore. Stayed off and just better mindset and stuff like that. I can find it being negative sometimes, so I stayed off that. But
what about your Twitch streams, Mitch?
Yeah,
where can we got to get you streaming more?
I know. It's Marnes_16 on Twitch, and that's where you can find me on that. It's, like I said, it's been a little bit since I've been on it, but hopefully be able to get back on it here soon and try and have some fun with it.
Very cool. Yeah, and your Instagram is Marner, for our listeners, Marner_93. So make sure to go follow Mitch there and go check out the Marner Assist Foundation. I love what you guys are doing there. Such a great cause. And look forward to charity streams, because I think that's especially for our audience, that's one of the most effective ways, I think, to help out there and to give there. So Mitch, that wraps up this week's episode of the podcast. Thank you so much. Amazing to get your perspective. Amazing to get the view of, like, really one of the top athletes, top hockey players in the entire world. Your views on gaming and esports, really incredible. Jimmy, thank you as always. For our listeners, guys, make sure to follow us everywhere. Business of Esports, Biz Esports, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. LinkedIn, you name it, everywhere you get our content. And don't forget, every Wednesday evening, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we do a live stream. It's a lot of fun. We cover all the news. It's a big cast. You get to ask questions, participate. Hundreds of people show up, and it's so much fun. We have a lot of fun with you guys. So make sure to try and join it live, Wednesdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Mitch, thank you again. Jimmy, thank you guys. To all of our listeners and our fans, thank you guys. And we will see you next week.